Hello there, welcome back to Share My Thoughts, the show where I share my thoughts and opinions on different topics I find interesting. This is episode 4, and if you haven't already seen from the title, you probably know what this topic we are going to be discussing in this episode today is going to be about. So, today's topic is probably, you already know, about this. I mean, seriously, what is wrong with Americans and this, and this, and this? These are all fake guns, by the way. They're all toys. They don't do anything. If you don't know what this is an airsoft gun. Yeah. This is a gel ball gun, aka an Orby gun. It shoots Orbeez. The slide does not cock back. There's no release. These aren't real guns, so in case you freaked out when I pulled out a gun, well, no, you shouldn't freak out because these are all fake. They're really light. So, yeah. Also, another thing. When I said, what is with Americans and this, I mean, it sounds pretty offensive. So, what I'm trying to say is that, what is wrong with people who are Americans who have gun violence, which is what this topic is about. So, please don't be offended when I say, what is with America and guns. By that, I mean people who cause gun violence. So, that's what I'm trying to say, and not applying to all Americans. That would be really offending. So, sorry if I offended you. Here's your explanation. Now that we got all of that out of the way, today's topic, as you probably already know from the title, about gun violence. You see, guns, they have a huge problem in America, in case you didn't notice. So, yeah, let's get into it. Now, you see, gun violence, it's something special in America. Well, not special in a good way. I meant to say special in a bad way. So, gun violence is special in a way in America because America, it's really easy to get your hands on a gun. I mean, you can easily just go to a gun store and say, I want a gun, and you'll get one in less than 15 minutes or less. Sign some paperwork, more or less, take a training, take a test. If you know how to manually discharge, release the magazine, keep your finger off the trigger, all gun safety rules, and bam, you have your gun. That's like 4 hours of training of how to use a gun, like what to do, what not to do, and then you sign your paperwork or ownership that you have a gun, and bam, you got your gun. It's right there. You got it in like 4 hours and 3 minutes, which is 4 hours or like, what, 4 hours and like 15 minutes or whatever. So yeah, pretty easy to get a gun. Well, let's elaborate on that a bit more. So, you see, let's compare gun ownership, in a way, to other countries. So, Iceland, if you don't know, is a pretty small island off the UK, like further north or something. But people, like 1 out of 3 people have a gun. Like it's a pretty small island, and there are over 100,000 guns on the place. Yet it has zero gun violence, and no one has ever gone to or misused a gun or gone to a school and bang 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 a school shooting. But like there's little to zero gun violence in Iceland, and yet over 100,000 people own them. And why is that the case? Well, the answer is pretty straightforward. If you didn't already know, they have strict gun laws. They have really strict gun laws. You see, first, here are the steps. First, you need to go to a doctor, and you have to get checked to see if you're mentally sane and not an actual psychopath whose only true intention of actually owning a gun is about murdering a bunch of people and stuff. First, you need to get checked. So you gotta get checked to see if you're mentally sane, and then take a 12-hour course, which is basically a test. Read an entire book about gun safety, whatever. Listen, I'm a 12-year-old, okay? So I don't necessarily know everything there is to guns. I'm just a 12-year-old who likes sharing his thoughts on YouTube. So yeah, I don't really know in particular what they are, but you can look it up on Google, and that's why there is Google. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked here. You have to take a 12-hour course, read a book, and then you can finally go to a gun store and you can finally get your license, and then go to a gun store and then purchase a gun. But you also have to show your permit that you actually have a license to own a gun. So that's a pretty strict process and pretty thought out process. However, in America, it's pretty scary of how easily you can get a gun. First of all, you just simply need, as I've already said, just simply go take a training. It's about 4 hours. So you'll know how the gun functions, what to do with the gun and what not to do with the gun, and all of that stuff. And then finally get your license, which is like 4 hours within a day, and then straight up go to the gun store and say, hey, I want a gun, and then they'll give you a gun, and bam, there's your gun. Or bam, there's your gun. There's your gun. So, it's pretty crazy how easily you can get a gun as long as you're over the age, you're over the legal age of, to own a gun. Over the legal age to own a gun. So, you have to be the right age, and you can own a gun just like that in America. So, that's where our topic comes in. So, many people, as of now, question the Second Amendment, and that all civilians have the right to own a firearm or a gun. And people have just been questioning this for years, for many years, for even decades as of now. And that's a big problem. You see, many people, as I said, are questioning the Second Amendment. That means they want to ban guns. But the problem is that many people who don't misuse guns, who own guns in America, try to defend themselves because they weren't the ones responsible for any of this violence. The people who abused the right to own guns were people who were not the people who simply wanted to buy guns for self-protection and to protect themselves. So many people say they want to ban the Second Amendment or just take off the Second Amendment. However, there are tons of people who do not abuse the ownership of guns and use them in the right way, for self-protection, and go out and shooting them because they're fun. And so that's the problem, as I said. So let's also look at the people who want to ban guns. And to be honest, people who want to ban guns aren't the actual people who actually own guns to ban guns in America, as if I'm getting a little not specific. But let's be honest. Who am I kidding? The people who want to ban guns aren't the actually the people who own guns. 99% of all the people who protest of the banning of the Second Amendment or taking away of the Second Amendment aren't people who actually own guns, which makes the situation sort of unfair, which is where the problem comes in. You see, the thing is that many people want to ban guns. However, there are just as many people who own guns who don't want to ban guns because they have their equal reasons. So let's take a look at them. Well, from one, I've done a lot of research, and well, to simplify it for you, many people who own guns and use them in the right way say that they use guns as a form of protection for themselves, to give them a peace of mind that if there ever was a bad situation and needed help and they needed help and no one else was around, they could use their own firearm or gun to protect themselves in terms of whatever the situation comes. So that's what many people say about guns. They want to protect themselves, or else how else are you going to actually protect yourself? For example, you're probably saying, oh, what about knives, or what about a pot, or about a pan or something. That doesn't work at all, because the thing is that hopefully I don't sound offensive, but it's for the average American citizen or the average citizen in general, unless they're actually basketball players where actually they're super buff and strong, I don't think you would stand much of a chance trying to, hand-to-hand combat. Hand-to-hand combat something. Hand-to-hand, combat, criminal. Let's be honest, how much of a chance would you stand if you were to try and use a pot or a can and throw it at the bad guy that you're trying to run away, or fight and protect yourself from. I mean, like, that's not going to kill him. And to be honest, the only really good solution is to pull out your gun, because you can use guns and you can be safely away from be a safe distance away from the bad guy and use it and threaten them like that. Because let's say you take out a pan and then you try to fight the bad guy and sorry to sound offensive, but you would most likely fail, because bad guys they are pretty fit. Well, like, I mean, like, how else are they going to be able to run away, like, really fast when they, like, grab your purse or grab your wallet? I mean, like, they're generally pretty lean and pretty fit. Now, so, the chances of you taking out, like, a knife or a pan and trying to smack them in the face with it are pretty slim, and you'll probably miss every single time. The bad guy will ultimately stab you in the back with their knife. So, a gun simply, as I said, allows you to be a safe distance away from the bad guy. Meanwhile, this threatens them being injured or death, which isn't a good idea considering how the U.S. court works. So, guns are really just the best and safest way to deal with bad guys or people who want to harm you or hurt you. Because there isn't much of a chance between you and a knife and trying to disarm them of the knife, because disarming a knife is really tricky unless you're actually wearing like knight armor. I mean, like you're covered in metal. Then maybe you'd stand a chance, but I don't think so. So, disarming a knife or disarming something that's in the bad guy's hand isn't going to be easy. So that's why guns provide the only real solution. And that's the defense for the gun people or the people who own guns. Now, let's move on to the people who want to ban guns. You see, the people who want to ban guns say that with the growing gun violence and so many people misusing guns and just misusing these pieces of destruction, if you will, and misusing them, causing mayhem and chaos among schools, colleges, campuses, anyway, public shootings, or whatever. So, the people who want to ban guns say so many people are misusing these weapons, and to prevent further lives to be lost, you have to ban guns, and therefore people can ultimately the crime rates and the murder rates will go down, because I mean, like, people murdering somebody with a gun is very, 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 very common, because I mean, many people murder people with a gun. Sorry to sound so dark, but let's say your girlfriend cheated on you, or your boyfriend cheated on you, and you just found out, and turns out that relationship has been going on for years. You get really mad, and therefore, as many people might do, take out a gun, and because they're actually good on the inside, not actually wanting to do that, just doing that out of anger, they bam, pull the trigger, bam, dead, and then the entire nation is in shock. chaos and mayhem and all of that stuff. And that's basically the entire story for the people who want to ban guns and the people who don't own guns, which is sort of unfair. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure there are some people out there who actually gave up their guns for the better of the nation, and also sided with saying they want to ban guns. And that's basically the debate between people who own guns and want to keep them and people who don't own guns, or people who gave up their guns and want to ban them. So now onto my opinions and my thoughts and what I feel like is a appropriate solution. You see, the problem is that it doesn't lay in the guns themselves, it lays in the people who own the guns. Because even if you were to ban guns, if you were to bring guns back, there would still be people who would misuse them, because there are still bad people who would misuse them. So, the gun isn't responsible for everything. You see, a rule, I've handled guns before, I've shot them, is that if handled correctly or used correctly, the gun is not dangerous, although it is a weapon. So there's that. So what I feel like is that if the U.S. government could ensure that we put guns in the right people's hands, right people who can actually be responsible for that, then the gun violence would significantly decrease, or be stopped, or be entirely stopped. So that's basically the entire thing the U.S. government is struggling to do. And that is, from that information is how I am going to provide a scenario or situation. Okay, so first things first. Like, the people who cause gun violence, they abuse their guns. They abuse the right to own guns and safely use them for reasons to not cause any harm. Now, we have to first start with preventing the people who are just going to misuse guns in the first place, the people who are actually going to misuse the guns, because I'm sure there's plenty of good people out there, but there are still bad people out there. So we first need to make sure those bad people don't get their hands on a gun. So first things first, I think we should follow Iceland as an example. That island, or that island nation, has tons and tons of people who own guns. 1 out of 3. I'm pretty sure that's even a bit more than the people who own guns in the United States, ratio-wise. I think it's like 1 out of every 7 or 1 out of every 6 or something. But anywho, we should first, as for in America, we should first make guns harder to get, harder to own and get. Now, I'm not saying that it's gonna completely strip away your right or like your ability to get your hands on a gun. Basically, I think we should follow Iceland's example, as I said. First of all, first things first, you need to get checked up by a doctor or some sort of psychiatrist or something like that to see that if you're mentally sane to own a gun and not you're a psychopath or something. Not only that, I feel like after you pass that test, you have to spend, you have to take a really long, well, not really necessarily a long class, but you do have to take a class reviewing gun rules, gun safety, and all of that, and you have to memorize all of them by heart, and you should always know them, and whenever you use a gun. After you take a class, I think you should then apply for not apply for the license. You have to then take a test to make sure you memorize all of them, and you have to score a 95 or 100, because if you score a 71 or a 70.1, that's sort of not fair. So a 95 or 100, well, that's just my opinion, but if you want both sides to win and both sides to equally understand each other, you have to come to these circumstances. So to a 95 or 100, and after that, after you go through that, you apply for your license. If everything checks out, you get your license. However, you can only own you can only own you have to renew your license every single year and take everything again, sort of like how you take like hacker safety on your office job where you work on the computers every single year, to make sure that nothing's changed, everything's fine, and everything is going great with your life, and you're not going to try and murder somebody because you've dealt with mental depression. And sad thing is that many people use violence to deal with depression. So that isn't good. That might be another topic for another day, but as of now, we'll focus on this one. So that's how I believe the U.S. should shape their gun safety rules to be somewhat in a way like what I presented right here. So yeah, now after that, you also, I can't forget, but you have to also have little to no criminal record. If you do have a criminal record, you need to have a much more strict test, because sad thing is that many people who are criminals tend to, or who've been in prison, sometimes tend to revert to old ways. So that's not good also. So that might be another topic for another day, but we're still focusing on this one. So that's how I feel we should approach this type of, this problem. And the people, and maybe if I may for a moment believe, we shall be able to reduce gun violence in great ways, and no innocent lives will be lost. And so, if the U.S. government was able to incorporate that to gun laws and or in a way incorporate my ideas into their gun laws, then maybe, and I'm just saying maybe, we can reduce, if not stop, gun violence in total. Or decrease it to 0.1. Or however you wish. So, that wraps up today's topic and today's episode. So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time on Season 1 and Episode 5.